Hey guys, thanks for joining us here at Salty Ginger Talk. If you're a returning listener, glad to have you back. If you're new, we welcome you. Thanks for joining us. Our podcast is for someone that wants to learn something new or make themselves a little bit better every day. So we cover a wide variety of topics, whatever strikes our fancy, but our goal is to try to help people think left brain, logically, unemotionally, take control of their lives, take personal responsibility, and build a better life for themselves and their family. So, to that end, in today's episode, we're going to do a summary of a book we read. It was written a long time ago. It's called Seven Habits of Highly Effective People in the book. And we wanted to share it with you and kind of share the thesis of the book and the points of the book. But we highly recommend that you read it yourself, make your own determinations, and we think you'll find a lot of useful information in there that you can apply to your everyday life to make your life better. So let's dive into it from there. While your definition of success may differ entirely from the next person's, the ingredients of success can be boiled down to seven transformative habits. This is the central premise of Stephen R. Covey's best-selling self-improvement book, The Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Like we talked about, it was written over 30 years ago, and what it does is encourages readers to change their perspective on the world. By adhering to these seven habits, they can enhance their personal and professional effectiveness and meet their goals. So that's the premise of the book. It's for people that want to take control of their lives, take control of their situation, and build a better life for themselves. So, with that said, let's go through these seven habits that Mr. Covey has identified. We agree. I don't know if it's just seven, I don't know if it's these only seven, but in his view, these are the seven most important habits that will make you effective and help you build a better life for yourself. So, habit number one, be proactive, right? We did an episode on stopping procrastination. We gave a lot of tips in how to do that. The 2 minute rule, um, forcing yourself to take action on a big project, chunking it out a little bit at a time and building momentum that way. So being proactive is habit number one in this book. So you're going to have challenges, you're going to have problems. You can't let those things that you don't have control over stop you from taking control of the things that you do have control over. So if you're proactive, when you face these obstacles, you're going to immediately start working on a solution or a path around, over, under, through these obstacles. That's what a proactive person does. They find a way to solve the problem. They don't wait for someone to come and bail them out. They take control over what they have control over and they work towards a solution quickly. That's what proactive people do. That's what successful people do. And that's what you want to be. So you need to think about that as one of your habits. Be proactive. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't put it off. Attack it. Attack it now. Put it behind you. Control the things you can control and move forward. So that's habit one. Habit two is begin with the end in mind. So, really, what that's saying is set goals, know where you want to go, be deliberate about what you're trying to accomplish. And that can be anything. It can be a personal goal, it can be a professional goal, it can be a health goal. It doesn't matter what the goal is, but if you know where you are and you know where you want to go, you can chart a path to get from here to here. Where am I? Where do I want to be? What are the steps I can take that will advance me towards my goal? And like we've talked about before, we have an episode called Fail to Plan, Plan to Fail, right? Your plan will never work the way that it's laid out. We've yet to develop a plan that didn't encounter some challenges, some roadblocks, some changes. Never once. Never have things worked out exactly the way we planned them. With that said, it's way better to have a plan because even when those roadblocks pop up, you know what your goal is, you know what your North Star is, you know what your target is, and you can continue to focus on driving towards that goal if you know what it is. So before you start, know what it is that you're trying to accomplish, know what it is that you're trying to get done, and you can continue to inspect that what you're doing daily is leading you towards or helping you progress towards the goal that you set for yourself. So that's habit number two. We think it's a good one. Habit three, put first things first, right? We talked about, I think we did an episode called Don't Major in Minor Things. There are a lot of things that everybody does every day that feel like you're doing something, but you're actually just staying busy. You're not actually accomplishing anything. Responding to emails is necessary, but it's not your real job. It's like a part of your job that's necessary to continue to get your paycheck or to continue to communicate with the people you communicate with. But emails are not work. They're not getting something done. They're not advancing you towards your goal. So you have to use the objective that you set for yourself to determine which areas are most important to focus on that will help you get towards that goal as fast and as efficiently as possible. Those are things that you want to make a regular part of your schedule. So that also means saying no to certain things. Maybe you need to stop paying attention so much to social media. Maybe you need to stop watching so much television. Maybe you need to stop procrastinating. Whatever it is, there are habits that you have that are not advancing you towards your goal. Maybe you go out too much. Maybe you can't say no to your friends because you feel peer pressure. I know that when I was playing baseball, there were times where everybody else was out having fun and I was running stairs at the stadium, or I was in the weight room, or I was working out, whatever the case may be. I never considered those sacrifices because I knew my goal was to become a professional baseball player. So it never bothered me to do those things. But that's an example of having to say no to some things you might want to do to stay focused on the things that you know you should do to achieve the goal that you've set for yourself. And you can set whatever goals you want. That's the beautiful part of it. Nobody's telling you what it is you should be focused on. What we're saying is you should know what you're focused on, and you should prioritize the activities and habits and rituals that give you the best chance of getting to where you want to be. Don't major in minor things. Don't get caught up in the trivial little bullshit stuff. Some of it's got to be done, but spend as little time on it as possible and spend your time on the things that you have control over that will get you towards your goal faster and more efficiently. If you organize your life this way by prioritizing the things that are important and saying no to the things that aren't, it'll give you much more control over your activities and will allow you to self manage yourself to maximum effectiveness. So I think it's a good way to think about it. Put first things first. What is it that gets you the biggest bang for the buck? And do that first. Another way to think about it, and we've used this a lot, there's a 2x2 quadrant. So it's got the y axis and the x axis. Call it the y axis is how easy is the task, with 0 being easy and 10 being hard. And on the y-axis, what value do you get from completing the task, with 0 being almost no value to 10 being the highest value. So you plot your activities on this chart, and then you split it into 4 quadrants. And you want to focus on this quadrant first, which is it's easy to do, and it gives me a big bang for my buck. Then you go to things that are easy to do but have little bang for the buck. Then you go to things that are hard to do but have big bang for the buck. That's actually over here. And you leave the things that are hard to do but don't have a lot of value, and maybe you don't do them at all. Maybe you take them completely off of the list. But however you do it, however you prioritize your activities, you've got to think about what's important to you and what are the activities that will allow you to get to the important thing or get to the goal the fastest and most efficiently. And you want to prioritize those activities in your schedule. So put first things first. Habit number 4, win-win. Think win-win. So this book encourages us to practice the win-win philosophy. This means we should seek mutually beneficial solutions for everyone concerned in our interactions. Now, there's going to be times where it doesn't work out that way. But in most instances, we would argue that you can come up with a win-win solution. You don't want to do what's called zero-sum game. Zero-sum game means somebody wins, somebody loses. All of the benefit inures to one party, none of the benefit inures to another party. Those are generally not transactions that are good for either side, even the side that gets everything. So win-win is a good way to think. Win-win is a good way to go. And the way to do that is to interact with the other party and cultivate a good relationship so you can work on solutions together that meet both of your needs. I took a negotiation class one time, and they would hand you a slip, and all you knew was what was on your slip, and they would hand the other person a slip, And there was a solution to both of your problems that you guys had to broker, that you had to broker with each other. And so ours was, I ran a company that developed some type of life saving medicine from the peel of these rare oranges. And my adversary's company had, I don't know, it was medication, whatever. They used the pulp of the oranges to produce something that was terribly important to mankind as well. And it was our job to kind of work through things to get to a good spot. And we did pretty quickly. And the backstory was the two companies that we represented had a long history of adversarial relationships. We didn't like each other. And so I started off my negotiation with saying, hey, first, before we dig into this, let me just say, I really appreciate you coming to the table. We both do things that are terribly important for humanity. It's important for us to work together to set aside our past differences and to work together to come up with a solution for our problems. So I'm hoping that we're able to do that. Completely disarming. It made the conversation super easy. We solved the problem in about 3 minutes. And it's a good way to go. It was win-win. It was doing all the things we talk about in our podcast in terms of listening to people, talking to them non-judgmentally, maintaining our composure, not letting our emotions get involved. And we developed a solution very quickly. So win-win is a great way to go. We highly encourage it. Again, there's going to be some situations where it's really hard to do, but in most situations, you can come up with a win-win solution to whatever challenge it is that you're trying to solve. So, habit number 5, seek first to understand, then to be understood. So this is a really important one. It's a really good one. And I see a lot of people who, when they're listening to someone talk, instead of truly listening, absorbing what they're saying and really trying to understand that from their perspective, they're thinking about their retort or how they're going to win the argument or how they're going to make themselves sound smart. It's one of the things I dislike about a lot of stuff on social media, on Twitter, the sarcasm. And look, I'm super sarcastic. I find sarcasm very funny. But when you're actually trying to solve problems or have a discourse that's going to move things to a better place, sarcasm is not really useful. What is really useful is to truly understand what the other person or other group is saying to you and what is driving those thoughts or feelings from their side. And I don't say these things from a, hey, everything's great, let's hold hands and sing kumbaya because I'm all lovey-dovey and touchy-feely perspective, because I'm not. I'm none of those things. But what I am is terribly practical, and I want to solve problems quickly and be efficient and make my world a better place. And because of that, the people around me will benefit from that as well. And so if you don't understand what someone is saying or where they're coming from, what's driving their thought process, it really makes it hard to help solve problems or get to a good spot with that person. So you want to do that without judgment. You want to do it unemotionally, and you want to do it in a way that makes them feel heard and seen. And if you can do that, it's going to be terribly, terribly useful for you in your life, personally, professionally. It'll help your personal relationships. It'll help relationships with your kids, with your family. It'll help your relationships at work. It is super helpful and a super good way to go. So once you understand all that, then you can engage in a conversation where you share your perspective, where you make sure your needs are met, where you get things out on the table. First, you got to understand their point of view. Then you can express your point of view and work towards a solution. But if you start with understanding their point of view, you're going to wind up in a much better spot more often than not. Habit 6, synergize. Synergy in its truest form is the essence of inspired leadership. So in this book, it espouses this as a fundamental truth. You want synergy. When you've got a whole bunch of people working in synergy, you value the differences in each other. That's one of the things I do a lot, is I try to surround myself with people that don't think the same way I do. I already think this way. I don't need more people to think this way. I don't need people to tell me, gee, you're so smart. Gee, you're so right. Good one, boss. Super unuseful. Not useful at all. What's better is to have people who think differently than you, because they're going to think about potential issues, potential problems, potential pitfalls that you're going to miss. And if you create an environment where you have people around you that think differently than you, but they know you value their opinion. They know they can express their opinions. They're not going to get yelled at. They're not going to get judged. They're not going to get fired. They're not going to get punished. You're going to develop a really good team, and they're going to work in synergy with each other, right? The whole is greater than its parts. That's what you're looking to be. You're looking to get more value out of the people collectively than you get out of each of them individually. And if you can develop that synergy and you use the tools that, like the one we just talked about, understand first, then seek to be understood. That's how you develop that. And by clearly and efficiently communicating what those goals are, what the team goals are, you can get that done. So synergize, developing synergy is terribly important for successful people or effective people. And then the last habit, and we love this one too, sharpen the saw, right? So if you're cutting wood, if you're cutting meat, if you're using a tool that cuts, every once in a while you've got to take a break and you got to sharpen that thing so it can be as effective as it was when you started. You're no different. So continuously getting 3 hours of sleep, eating shitty food, not exercising, not taking breaks to allow your mental health to be okay, to step away from the stress, to step away from the problems or challenges. You have to do those things in order to be effective. And downtime is just as important to keeping your schedule on a regular basis as really concentrated, focused work time. Terribly important, right? Physical care. Give your body what it needs. Exercise. Eat nutritious foods. Get enough sleep. There's a social and emotional health that you've got to maintain. And that looks very different for different people. But living a life of service, helping other people is useful, right? And that doesn't have to be going down to the soup kitchen or doing something outwardly noticed to help people. It can be being a really good friend. It can be being a really good spouse. It can be being a really good parent. You're helping other people when you do those things. And that's why they make you feel good about yourself. Spiritual health. Prioritize activities that require deep thought and reflection. That doesn't have to be religious. It can be, hey, what's this all about? How do I want my life to go? What do I want people to think about me? What do I want my mark on the world to be after I'm gone? So those are things you can think about. That's terribly important. And if you think about those things, it'll help you develop goals. It'll help you think about, hey, maybe I shouldn't fly off the handle so much. Maybe I shouldn't get as angry as I do. Maybe I shouldn't be as reactionary as I am. Maybe I should work on those things and focus on making myself a better person in those aspects. And mental health. Nourish and exercise your mind, right? Take time out to learn new things, to write, to read. Doing this podcast is terribly helpful for us because it gives us an outlet for some of the things that we just talked about. So we're glad that you guys find it useful as well, but it's just as much for us as it is for you. So taking care of your mental health is terribly important as well. So look, we've read this book. We read it a long time ago. We think there's a lot of valuable lessons in it. We generally agree with the stuff that's in the book. We definitely agree with these 7 principles. And if you're able to incorporate these into your day-to-day life and really perfect them and use them to the maximum benefit, you're going to be very successful, very happy, and you're going to live a pretty fulfilled life. So hope you're able to check this book out. We captured the highlights, but it's worth a read. We got a lot of value out of it when we read it. That's the episode for today, guys. James puts it up over here every day. Don't forget to go to our website, saltygingertalk.com. We've got all of our podcast episodes on there. You can subscribe to our newsletter that we publish every weekday on there. Then there's links to all of our social media content on there as well. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment on our podcast on whatever platform you consume it on. Really appreciate you checking us out, guys. Hope everyone has a great week, and we'll see you next time.